Hello folks, this is Steve AB4L. I think today's the last Friday of the month. Looks nice outside. I think I need to go out there. But first I want to tell you something. Supposedly, Mark Twain said, history doesn't repeat, but it certainly does rhyme. Something like that. You know, I look at slashdot.org, news for nerds. I'm a nerd. I'm not promoting anything, I'm not recommending anything, but I saw something as I'm scrolling down. See, I had to turn the ad blockers off because they're just screwing up my computers. Everybody's getting into blocking ad blockers. Microsoft president calls for a national talent strategy for electricians. Oh, it must be all those data centers. Not just hooking up your refrigerator, right? Here's the one. IBM US. I'm in North Carolina. One of the places that IBM had and still has a significant location is the Research Triangle Park down near Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. Triangle. There was a time in the 90s and into the early 2000s when IBM was closing other locations. I knew somebody that worked for IBM in Florida, and when they closed it out, the ones they wanted to keep, they offered them jobs at RTP, because that was growing, provided they could adapt. One of them came as a technician. I worked with her. Today she's an executive at a competing computer company. Her husband was a big deal, smart guy, but he ended up getting resourced, and now he's an elementary school teacher. Oh, did I use the word resource? IBM US cuts may run deeper than feared, and the jobs are heading to India. How's that news? The Register, UK. Big Blue, see, the first contact I really had with IBM was when I was in college. The IBM PCs were coming in, and he used to send IBM reps to college campuses to try to sell everybody to use IBM PCs. It's the wave of the future, and they all wore blue suits. Big Blue might as well move his headquarters to Bengaluru. You know where that is, right? It's in Karnataka state. You knew that, right? South of Hyderabad. You know what it's famous for, right? Bengaluru. Since it no longer prioritizes America. Now, what does that mean? IBM started in the United States with punch cards a long time ago. Punch cards. An easier way to do large-scale inventory. Punch cards. How many do I have of a certain category? If all your stock is on punch cards with the edges punched out, you can put a needle through the stack, lift it up, and most of them will drop away, and the ones that are left are in that category. Manual computing. Yeah. Following our report last week on IBM's ongoing layoffs, current and former employees got in touch with this to confirm what many suspected. The U.S. cuts run deeper than reported, and the jobs are heading to India. So it said here, I don't believe this. I think these people don't know what they're talking about. IBM's own career site numbers back up January 7th, 2024, Big Blue listed just 173 open positions in India. But by November that same year, there were almost 3,000 jobs. And now they're up to 3,900 positions open. Does that sound like a big number? A current IBMer who won't be there much longer said that after being told to teach recently hired workers in India everything I know, what did I say about Mark Twain? The reward was a resource action. Big Blue's euphemism for a layoff. When was that invented? What is IBM resource action? Remember, I once worked as a contractor in the IBM PC company in the year before it got sold off. Yeah, in RTP to Lenovo. Resource Actions enables managed service providers and direct enterprise customers to manage and operate their hybrid IT landscape in an agile, proactive, and self-service manner. Oh, wait a minute. Here's an article. Inventory Research Actions Overview IBM. What's the propaganda? Resource Actions enables managed services providers and direct enterprise customers to manage and operate blah, blah, blah. And it goes through this big blah, 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 blah. A resource action is they're getting rid of you. I had a friend who's now retired and lives almost in Tennessee. He has a beautiful house in one of the far western counties of North Carolina. He's originally from Brazil. He was working in RTP for IBM. He told me, now this is after the resource actions got going, which means after India got going with IBM. He was a manager of a programmer group. He managed a group of about 10 programmers writing software. But they were in India and he was in Research Triangle Park, North Carolina. He never met any of his employees, direct people that he managed, face to face. Now we're talking about in the 2000s, sometime between 2000 and 2010. All of his employees in India had 2 telephones on their desk. One telephone, the number was a India number. The second one was a US number. So if he wanted to talk to one of his workers in India, he didn't dial an international number. He dialed a US 1 and then the area code 3 digits and then their number. And the phone in India would ring. Now let me give you some perspective. When I had a roommate in India, Ashok, in the 1960s, when I lived in Philadelphia, an apartment mate, I can remember sitting there as he called home to his family. He had to call AT&T. They had to arrange the international call. It was done by a series of radio relays, unites New Jersey to Iceland or something, or Greenland, and then to England, and then to Italy and then to India, shortwave radio links. And they would be yelling and they could barely understand each other. But by the time I left Philadelphia, he could direct dial it. Satellites, IT. No, not undersea cables, satellites. Now, why did I do that? Because I was talking about the late 1960s, that example, versus the 2000s. A guy in the United States who's originally from Brazil, whose father was originally from Israel, was managing a group of people in India by telephone. I'm doing this to put all this bullshit in perspective. They make it sound like it's something new. Resource action. That's what they called it back then. Adjusting resources. So what's this? Wikipedia list of IBM CEOs. We're interested in Sam Palmisano. He was the CEO of IBM from, what was the range of years I was starting to tell you about? The 2000s. 2002 to 2012. Sam Palmisano, the 8th Chief Executive Officer of IBM. Okay? We're going to be talking about that guy. Here's what people at IBM told me. So he's Italian-American, middle class from Baltimore. His father owned a body shop. He went to high school in Baltimore. He was a union musician, played saxophone, got a bachelor's degree at Johns Hopkins, but eventually he becomes the CEO of IBM. Personal Systems Group, 1997. That's IBM PCs. Personal Systems Group. IBM PCs. And then Global Services. Global Services. During the period when IBM shifted its focus from pure technology to embracing outsourcing and other services. It's right there. Embracing outsourcing. Where would you outsource U.S. jobs to get the same talent but cheaper? That's when they began to adopt the Linux operating system as one of the alternatives for running the mainframes and web servers they sold. It's right there. So I'm going to tell you a little story about him. So he saved the company well, all right. Palmisano's mandate was to move into new businesses with high profit margins. Not 2%, 50%. Doing things that other people can't do yet. Notice the word yet. Why did they get rid of the IBM PC company? Because they were losing $200 a machine. There were so many clone competitors, they couldn't make any money, even though they, quote, invented it. So you get out of it. You sell it to Lenovo, a Chinese company. I worked in the IBM PC company. It doesn't exist anymore. A person that was a team lead, also a contractor, is still an engineer at Lenovo in Morrisville. He's got a lot of patents. See, he was smarter than me. So they got into other new things. Okay. Now here's the deal that it won't say here. Oh, Palmisano also led the sale of the PC group to Lenovo, closed in 2005. The move was controversial inside of IBM, as it had invented the personal computer in the 80s. But they weren't making any money. They were losing money. because they weren't agile enough. Never mind how I know that. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story that I learned from insiders. Palmisano after he was CEO, he made a trip to India. But they didn't tell anybody. He made a trip to India at a point where IBM was less than 5,000 employees. Why wouldn't he tell anybody? Why was it a secret? 3 years later, every time he went to India, it was da-da-da-da-da-da, and they had over 20,000 workers. And then it became 50,000. And then the big controversy was, how many people actually work for IBM worldwide? How many work in the United States? How many work in India? How many work in England? Secret, secret, secret. And that's when the term resource action got invented. So my friend who used to work with me in the IBM PC company as a contractor ended up working for IBM, first as a programmer. He was smart, then he managed some programmers, and then the US programmers were resourced, laid off, after they personally trained Indians who were brought to the United States to learn their jobs. I'm talking about in the mid-2000s, mid to late between 2005 2010. Palmisano. I'm talking about a friend who told me what was going on. When he first went to explore what it was going to be like, they kept it a secret. Once they started shifting to India, he was proud to advertise that he was going. Big new revenue pot. Cheap labor, but smart. Now, you see this 404 page? InfoWorld. Here's an article, IBM Palmisano visits India, May 5th, 2003. May 5th, 2003. You click on the link, page not found. Old news, stale, we don't bother with it anymore. But notice the year, 2003. When they wrote the article about him, they saw that article was online. Whoop, I kind of lost it. Excuse me. So what was the reference in reference to? Palmisano, number 15. Let's see if I can find it. Find just 15. As CEO of IBM, Palmisano shifted many product development, and support positions, direct customer interaction by telephone and the internet, email, to emerging markets. Where was the emerging market? What was the big one? India! What was the title? Palmisano visits India. I'm just showing you that I know what I'm talking about. Article not available. Now the final thing. How many employees does IBM have in India? Search today. $130,000 IBM employees from the years 2022, that's 3 years ago maximum, nearly 97% of banks worldwide use IBM products. IBM employees live in 170 countries. That includes people who do direct sales. IBM in 2022 has 245,000 employees worldwide. 250,000, right? Of which half are in India. 130,000. Now, why am I doing this? Look at the way this article is written. American jobs listed for these 3 periods are 192. These are positions open. 376 and 333. But the ones for India are 173, and then it's 3,000, and then it's 4,000. That's scratching the surface. How many do they actually have in India now? So the truth is, the article is based on people calling them up and saying, there's another big deep cup in the US, and IBM's not going to tell you how many's really going away. But we know where they're going because we're having to train them. That's in 2025. We have to train them and then they lay us off. Resource action us. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed in 25 years. When it all began back in the early 2000s. Nothing's changed. A lot of stuff that gets printed online, it's online, is just people were born 3 years ago. They were born way after it happened. They have no idea about the past. And when they try to go to InfoWorld, page not found. So they just make it up as they go. You got to talk to people that were alive at that time. Steve A. before you. Just an idiot running his mouth, saying see you in 73.